Welcome back to my messy garage. In the last video I went ahead and mounted the engine, transmission, and swing arm, did the rear pivot blocks as well as the steering neck bearings. And in this video we're going to be mounting the rear wheel. I got some footage of mounting the oil bag, the foot controls, and we're also going to mount the forks. So this is the wheel I'm going to be running on my FXR. It's just the factory 9-spoke. I sent it out to get chromed. Got a Lindall 9-spoke rotor. I actually found it on eBay, so I didn't pay full price. It was never used. And then on the back side I have an IMS Elite sprocket, 54 tooth I believe. Also 9-spoke. Some things to note. Right now I don't know what size spacer I'm going to run behind this, so I'm just test fitting it so I can measure for the spacer. So I just got 2 bolts holding it in until I can get the proper length ARP fasteners. And I also converted this to sealed bearing. For the sake of mock-up, I didn't put, if you put the factory wheel seals back in here, just the rubber ones, you don't need them because they're sealed bearing, but it just looks a little bit better. So I'm going to put those in after I finish measuring what size spacers I need. So this is the brake setup I'm going to run. It's a Kraus bracket with a Brembo I powder coated myself. Got some mismatched hardware until I measure and get the right stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and mount this on the swing arm, kind of just holding itself on there so I can go ahead and mount the rear wheel without trying to hold this by hand. This is meant to work with a 1-inch and a 3/4 axle, so they give you this spacer, bushing rather. So this is more or less where it needs to sit, so I gotta measure what size spacer I need to put in here. The reason that I determined back and forth where it sits is because it's the center of the brake caliper, and I have no adjustment on that, so this wheel has to sit here, and then I'll go ahead and measure on the other side what size spacer I need. Just to sum up a few things on this setup, I am running an MJK axle adjuster, MJK axle, bare knuckle chopper shock bolts, lower and upper, stock chrome mag, Lindall rotor, IMS Elite sprocket. Back wheel is mounted on the bike. I went ahead and made the spacer for each side on the mill. I just centered the brake rotor in the brake caliper, and then I measured each side and I milled them down to size and I put them in, and they seem to be working. So now I'm going to go ahead and move on to the front end. Just going over some of the hardware we have here. Again, these are the stock 9-spokes. I had them chromed. I had 2000 and up lowers that I bought new from Harley. I sent those out to get chromed. I got Bagger Brothers radial brake calipers, Harley Davidson brand 11.8 rotors, Brembos I coated myself, and then I went ahead and polished the triple trees and put Patriot suspension adjusters on top. Inside is all Race Tech internals with gold valves. There you go, just factory triple trees polished. And the Patriot suspension preload adjusters are polished as well. So as you could tell, the triple tree is not all the way seated, but this is the lowest setting that this jack goes on. So I gotta get a 2x4 or something to put under the wheel and fully seat this. Bars are mounted, they need some fine tuning and adjusting as far as where I'm going to be seated and the roll of the bars. But I got Drag Specialty turn signals, Arlen Ness mirrors, Bike Masters chopped dual disc. Who makes these? These are one finger brake and easy pull clutch, thrashing risers, and thrashing bars. I got the new fuel gauge I'm going to be running. The old one still works. I just Since I'm doing everything on this bike, I might as well do the fuel gauge. It'll match a little bit better. So this carbon fiber I actually bought and cut myself. It's a blue carbon fiber. So I couldn't really find this in blue carbon fiber. I wanted to match the bike a bit, just subtly. I cut it myself, as you could tell. It's not perfect, but when it's on the bike, it's good enough. So here's the new gauge. It's made by New Vintage. I felt like it fit the theme of the bike pretty well. Kind of carbon fiber-ish with the blue line. It comes in multiple resistances, so you could use it for a variety of applications just by changing these dip switch positions. I have it set for 240 to 33. That's universal, and that's what the FXR uses. It's a little loose. That's better. So, manual says black is ground, white is lights. Hook these up to 12 volts and see what we get. I started test fitting some of the wiring and wiring harness. So I had to modify these side covers with some holes. I did some nut certs on the back side. But now that I got this all figured out, I'll show you the other side. Everything's where it needs to go. I'm going to take these off and powder coat them. The other side, I got a motogadget blue here. These were just test wires. And a circuit breaker and a ground bar. I'm going to pull this off and powder coat it. And I'll also be powder coating the voltage regulator mount and the battery hold down. For this bike, I got rid of the old FXR brake pedal, and I'm running a Dyna control. So I made this block right here and welded it to the frame, and I also made this brake arm and powder coated it. I've made really great progress on the bike. It's actually almost done and ready to run. But I've amassed so much video that I have to break it into a bunch of separate parts, or else it would be like an hour and a half long. That being said, you might see some stuff in this video that actually happens in a later video as far as what's on the bike. I'm trying to keep everything chronological, so hopefully it's not too big of a deal. But anyway, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. In the next video, I'll be installing the tins, the carburetor, the inner primary, and the clutch.